What's up, guys? How you guys doing? Just wanted to really get your guys' thoughts on the 53-man roster, at least the initial one that was set. So, send in your thoughts. And before I start responding to them, I'm just going to send out the links to Twitter and Facebook real quick. So, 1 second. But hope you guys are doing well on this fine Labor Day weekend so far. What's your reactions? Let's see. One second. $151 says, I'm surprised about Brandon. Oh, Brandon Zylstra? Yeah, I'll talk about that too, for sure. 1 second, guys. All right. So that's Twitter. I see Kyle Sloter is getting a workout with the Lions tomorrow, so that's pretty cool. 1 second. Now I'm just posting this to Facebook real quick, and we'll be good to go. Boom, boom. Okay. Boom and share. Okay. We set. Hell yeah, we set. All right. So 53-man roster is up. Actually, what the hell am I doing? Let me bring it up on my phone real quick because I'm an idiot for not doing it earlier. Do we have it? Yes, we do. Here it is. Okay. So I want to really spend this time to get your guys' thoughts on this. More so, and then I'll react to that. Like, I'll say what I feel about the roster, which I think for the most part is pretty good, but I want to really get your guys kind of gauge the temperature with you guys first. Anthony Grudel says, besides Sloter, who do you think was a mistake to cut, if any? I think Brandon Zylstra. Brandon Zylstra, to me, I think could be the mistake only because of who they have, of who else is on the wide receiver depth chart right now, and that's Chad Beebe. So we thought Chad Beebe was just going to just swoop in and take this job. I certainly did anyway. And even through the first two games, the Saints and the Seahawks, I said, well, he hasn't done much, but it's still his job to lose. And then that third down drop that he had against the Arizona Cardinals, the third game, I said, okay, I'm done with you. So he had one catch for 7 yards this whole preseason. And Brandon Zylstra, conversely, he did an outstanding job. I thought he did really well. And that's why that final game against the Buffalo Bills, I had him in one of the double R plays of the game. That toe drag he did before going out of bounds, catching it near the sidelines and going out, I thought he had a very productive preseason. So I was surprised that he was gone because I thought he was going to be a shoo-in for sure. I thought that he was going to be that wide receiver. Obviously, Olabisi Johnson, he's on the roster, but I thought Brandon Zylstra would be the other guy. So to see Chad Beebe on there without doing anything in the preseason was a little bit of a shocker to me. Also, I am shocked about Kari Vetvik. I thought for sure, and I said this in the podcast that I posted on, that was Friday, that Kari Vetvik, they just gave up a 5th-round draft pick for him, and if nothing else, they would keep him on as a punter just because Rick has a lot of pride. Now, kudos to Rick Spielman because this is the second year straight where he hasn't messed around or effed around, where Daniel Carlson last year, Kari Vetvik this time, to where, okay, this was clearly a mistake. Let's cut bait now and move on. Clearly, he's learned from his mistakes in the past. So I think you're seeing Rick Spielman turn a new leaf in that aspect. However, you did just give away a 5th-round draft pick for no reason for Kari Vetvik. So Brandon Zylstra, I was surprised that he was cut for the simple fact that I thought he was productive. And Kari Vedvik, I thought that he was going to be on the team too, just because of Rick Spielman. But kudos to him for turning the corner and admitting that he made a mistake as soon as it happened. Let's see. Brady Nelson says, what a mistake letting Slaughter go. Oh, Bradley Nelson, my apologies. Bradley Nelson says, what a mistake letting Slaughter go. So I'll say this real quick. I wasn't shocked that it happened. It was still frustrating when it happened. So I was at the gym yesterday when all these cuts were happening. And I think it was when Laquan Treadwell got announced that he got released. And so I was just like, while working out, just checking out in between sets and stuff. And so then I finally saw a report by Chris Tomasin that if the Vikings can't find a trade partner for Kyle Slaughter, they were going to let him go. And I wasn't surprised, but it was still a little bit, not even a little bit, it was very irritating, quite honestly. But this is just what the Vikings do. I think, honestly, because of Kyle Slaughter, because of the electricity, because of his the plays that he makes on the field, it goes against the traditional quarterback that Mike Zimmer, quite honestly, prefers in his quarterback. Think about Case Keenum, all the games that he won in 2017. He went in the post-game presser and still said, well, Case Keenum, he's playing, he's got a horseshoe on. He needs to dial it back a little bit. And so he did that after every single game, even though Case Keenum was super productive. I think Mike Zimmer has that old school philosophy and mentality of, we're going to let the defense take over and don't go too far out of pocket. Don't try to be flashy. Don't do anything like that. And Sean Mannion, he's the perfect quarterback for Mike Zimmer. And that includes Gary Kubiak in this situation too. I don't care that the coaches see more in practice or they see more or whatever. And I do respect that. But at the same time, when it comes to performance is the only thing that matters. And Kyle Slaughter, when he's been asked to perform under the bright lights, when everybody's looking on game day, albeit during the preseason against the Threes, he has done nothing but perform. So we've seen it. We saw how he played. I'm not surprised. I wish him all the best. He's going to work out with the Lions. I think it's a huge mistake that they let him go. And especially if Kirk Cousins doesn't work out, we can't just start from ground zero with nothing. You at least want to have some prospects there. And we don't have that right now, unless they truly think Sean Mannion is the guy. Let me tell you something right now. If Kirk Cousins goes down, you're not winning a damn thing with Sean Mannion. That's the truth. So, yeah, Slaughter got screwed over, but it's unexpected. I'm a big fan of him. I'm going to follow him and just see how he does because he has a lot of talent. He deserves the opportunity when he gets it. So, Slaughter's gone. It's just I would have kept him. So, let's see. Next is Debig. This name is awesome. The big homie E-Love says, you think Spielman and Zimmer on the hot seat? Absolutely they are. They have to get to the playoffs. Me personally, I think they should win a playoff game. But I do think, taking myself out of it, I think the Wolf brothers, Mark and Ziggy, I think they're looking at this with Zimmer and Rick to say, if you can at least get to the playoffs, we extended the both of you for a year. So if you can get to the playoffs, we'll let that final year play out. Me personally, I'm like, you need to win a damn playoff game. But I could see the Wolf brothers saying, just get to the playoffs because last year was so disappointing. However, if they don't make the playoffs, they're both getting fired. They're both getting fired. Like, there's no other way to talk about it. Everybody that talks about Mike Zimmer and how he's amazing, and he's the best coach that we've had since, Mike Zimmer or Brad Childress and Mike Tyson and Leslie Frazier, you're right. But that shouldn't be the standard. You have championship expectations, and you have failed miserably. The NFC Championship game, it was nice to get there, but the way that your team performed out there, it was disgusting. It was very disgraceful. And the fact of last year where you didn't make the playoffs at all. In Week 17, the Bears gave up. The Bears, they played their twos for a lot of that game. They weren't even trying to win that game, and you still buckled under pressure. So you need to perform. It's time to put up or shut up with both of them. Quite honestly, I do admire that Rick Spielman is finally addressing the offense, the offensive line for Kirk Cousins, but I think it's in a situation now where I think he feels the pressure. And Mike Zimmer, he recognizes I should probably get somebody that's well respected like Gary Kubiak to run the offense and not somebody like John DeFilippo, who was a quarterback's coach in Philadelphia, but really hadn't proven himself. So that's good on both of them to recognize that. But at the same time, you still need to perform. And if they don't do it, if they don't get to the playoffs, they will both be fired. Sorry. So next, Lucas's stash says, why not cut Hill and sign Slaughter or Zylstra? They're not going to cut Hill, and I already knew this. I think they're going to eventually cut him. Or maybe not. Who knows? I would have cut him. But I understand that he doesn't count against the roster right now. So you're going to have him. So even if you do cut him, your 53-man roster that you have right now is still set. It doesn't get affected by cutting Holton Hill right now. So, but yeah, Brandon Zylstra, he looked nice. I think he got claimed by Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. So I wish him all the best as well. The only problem is Cam Newton is your quarterback who's never been accurate at all. So I don't think that he's going to really do much in Carolina, even with any opportunities that he does get out there. But no, cutting Holton Hill doesn't mean anything when it comes to the 53-man roster that we have right now. Now, once Hill is activated and once he's eligible to play, I'm guessing, what is that, week 9? Or I don't know if it is week 9. It is week 9 because I think our bye week is like week 10 or week 11. Once he's activated, then if the Vikings decide to keep him, they're going to have to cut somebody. And so we'll see what happens with that. Noah Kostopoulos says 10 offensive linemen and defensive linemen. Is there maybe too much depth along the trenches? On the defensive line, absolutely not. I think I'm fine. I'm fine with 10 defensive linemen that we have on the roster. I'm good with it because we have a bleep load of talent on that defensive line. And when you have to consistently pass rush or go up against all these strong ass offensive linemen, you're just getting beat up game after game. And especially if the back end of your defense is giving up first downs after first downs, then dudes are going to get tired. That's what happens. And so you need guys to come in that are rested and have fresh legs. We have a ton of those dudes out there. Stephen Weatherly, Denebo, sorry, I'm eventually going to get it right. Hercules Mataafa in some situations. Isn't Jalen Holmes? I think he made the roster, didn't he? Yeah, he did. Jaleel Johnson, he's not bad at all. So you got a lot of different guys out there that can be significant contributors to the defensive line. I'm good with it because as long as you have well-rested defensive linemen, whether it's first stringers, second stringers, or third, however you combine those three, then that helps your second and third level. So I'm good with that. On the offensive line, I don't really see anybody on the offensive line that they should have outright cut. So, for instance, Dakota Dozier, he's okay. Rashad Hill, he's serviceable. He really pissed me off in the preseason, bro, because this is a veteran. This is a veteran offensive lineman, and he was just stockpiling holding calls and penalties and things like that. So that was super annoying to see. But overall, he's still serviceable. But overall, even Oli Udoh, I don't see anybody on this offensive line to say, oh, he doesn't deserve to be there. Rashad Hill, maybe. But we don't even know what's going on with Brian O'Neill. Hopefully he starts week 1 at right tackle. But if he doesn't, who else are you going to put out there? So besides Rashad Hill. So I'm honestly fine with 10 offensive linemen and 10 defensive linemen, Noah. Let's see. Michael Thompson says you are wrong, and here's why, and he didn't finish that. So, okay. All right, dude. Let's see. Skull Production says Aldrick Robinson wants to come back. If I would bring him back, but it seems like they're set in their ways with the 53-man roster. Now, here's what's crazy. They have 4 wide receivers on their roster right now, which I think is pretty short. I would imagine you would have at least 5, maybe 6 receivers. But Right now, they only have 4. I think they're going to eventually sign somebody else. I think right now you see the initial 53-man roster right now. That doesn't mean it's set for week 1. Demaryius Thomas, he got released by the Patriots. I don't know if he got claimed yet, though. I should look into that so I don't sound like a jackass. But anyway, there are receivers out there that they can potentially bring back, maybe even an Aldrick Robinson. It seems like they're set, but they can make changes at any point from now until Friday or Saturday before their first game against the Falcons next Sunday. Let's see. Freaking Moses says 4 running backs over 3 quarterbacks. Technically, it's 5 running backs if you want to include. God, it's good. I'm drawing a blank on this dude's name. CJ Ham. So even though he's a fullback, CJ Ham technically falls into the category of running back. So technically, they have 5 running backs, which I think is way too much. I personally don't see any reason to keep Amir Abdullah around. I just don't. And if they are going to bring in a receiver, or if they are going to activate Holton Hill in week 9 and they're going to keep him, I would imagine Amir Abdullah will be one of the first guys that they will take a look at to say, okay, we can go ahead and cut you. I really don't see any reason to keep him on. Mike Boone has kicked ass. He's looked electric out there. Alexander Madison, he's done a very good job. Obviously, Dalvin Cook, you're going to keep him. CJ Ham in tight bunch formations, jumbo packages to have a fullback, you're going to keep him. So that's fine too. I just don't see any reason to keep Amir Abdullah other than returning kickoffs and punts. But even still, you have other guys out there that could do it as well. So I agree. 5 running backs over 3 quarters. Now, they were always going to keep 2 quarterbacks. I said, man, just please keep him. I already knew Sean Mannion was going to be the backup, but I thought maybe they would say, let's keep a 3rd quarterback, but I'm not surprised. But their whole thing was, we're going to keep 2 quarterbacks. But I agree. Think about this. Who asked this? The freaking Moss 84. They kept Amir Abdullah over Kyle Sloter. That's all you got to say. Kyle Sloter, who has a ton of talent, they kept Amir Abdullah over him, who really has no business being on this roster. So, whatever. Let's see. And hey, we can go 4-12 with Mannion. That's pretty good, says Robert Griffin. Yeah, like I said, you're not going to do anything with Sean Mannion. And the experience factor is so overstated. Here's one last thing. I keep saying this is the last thing I'm going to say about Sloter, but I've honestly moved on from it. I know Homeboy was on my video saying, can you imagine a Randy rant if they cut Kyle Sloter? Because that video that I did on Friday was before the massive cuts that they did yesterday on Saturday. And I don't have the energy, guys. I don't. All the yelling and stuff, like, you have to really, really piss me off to where it's like super unexpected for me to go off like that. But honestly, I don't have the energy to really do it, just because I'm just going to sit back and wait and see what happens with this team. I've said all that I've had to say, being raged out and all that stuff. But Zimmer and Spielman, they know what they need to do. If it doesn't work out, they're going to be fired. There's nothing else that I can say for that. But yeah, Sean Mannion, the thing that's really annoying is we talk about experience. Kyle Sloter doesn't have it. Sean Mannion's experience is butt ass. Bro, Sean Mannion, and I'm not trying to denigrate Sean Mannion. For all we know, he could be a good guy. He's just, for all we know, or not for all we know, for all intents and purposes, Sean Mannion is just an innocent bystander in this whole thing. Sean Mannion, as a football player, as an NFL quarterback, is some trash. He's trash. I'm sorry, not as a person, as a human being. I'm sure he's great, but as an NFL quarterback, he's some straight butt ass. And he averaged his average yards per attempt on his passes in the regular season, that experience that he has, that we're touting up so bad, he averages less than 5 yards per pass attempt. So what are we doing here? What are we doing? He's done nothing. And in the preseason against the twos, he's been marginal. He hasn't done anything either. So imagine when he goes up against the ones, when you're going against better competition, he's just going to regress. So whatever, man. It is what it is. This is the hill that the whole coaching staff and Rick Spielman is going to die on, then so be it. That's what you chose to do. I'm just going to sit back and let it all play out. But if Kirk Cousins goes down, we are absolutely screwed. I said the same thing about Case Keenum too, so I don't want to sound like a hypocrite in 2017. But the difference was, the reason why I wasn't so surprised with Case Keenum was, like, it was a shocker, the fact that we got to the NFC Championship game, but I wasn't surprised at what he did as far as his ability to throw the ball, because we saw his talents in Houston. We saw what he did as a starter in certain situations. So I thought we were screwed, but it wasn't that big of a shock because he's shown as a starter he can be serviceable. Sean Mannion, we talk about experience. He hasn't done a damn thing, dog. He hasn't even thrown a touchdown pass in the regular season. So miss me with that crap, for real. So yeah, if Kirk Cousins goes down, we are absolutely screwed, and that's still no excuse for Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman. You guys determine, and Gary Kubiak, you guys determined that. Now, Gary Kubiak, if all else fails, I would still want to keep him on. I don't think he wants to be a head coach anymore because of the health issues that he's faced. So I would still want to keep him on, but this is still attached to his name. This is the hill that you've chosen to die on. You've decided that Sean Mannion gives us the best opportunity to win if Kirk Cousins goes down. So I don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. Kurt Mackey says, or Kurt Mackay, I hope I'm saying your name right. He says, do you think Brett Jones or Drew Samia will take over a guard spot? I could see Brett Jones doing it let me ask you guys something. And I talked about this with Rick Sosa and SK last night. By the way, we did a joint podcast. We do it from time to time. It's called Skull Weekly. It's with Rick Sosa and Sean Kenner of the Skull Report. They do it every week, but once in a while I hop on just because I like doing group podcasts once in a while outside of my obligations with my solo stuff. But I want to ask you guys something and chime in as you guys are, as I'm going through questions. I'm sure I'll get to it later. But Pat Elflein, I've watched these preseason games. Pat Elflein is not rookie Pat Elflein at all, as far as we thought he was going to be our franchise offensive lineman. At the time, center. Now he's going to be left guard. So I understand that he hasn't met those expectations. He has certainly become someone that, if someone else comes along that's better, like marketably better than Pat Elflein, sure, he's not safe. He's not like a Brian O'Neill, who's going to be our franchise right tackle, or Garrett Bradbury, who looks the part so far. Pat Elflein isn't safe in that matter, but I think he's been a league average left guard. I don't see this big disaster that, oh man, we are absolutely screwed. Now, maybe if we see it over the course of a game, because in preseason, first game they played. Did they even play at all? I think they did one possession against the Saints. They did 2, maybe 3 possessions against the Seahawks, and they did a whole first half against the Arizona Cardinals. So maybe over the course of a game, you'll really see it get worse and worse with Pat Elflein. But I just haven't seen this disaster. And I've been destroying this offensive line for years. If anyone's going to destroy it, it's me. I just don't see this huge, oh my God, we've got serious problems here, because I think he's made great plays. Although, albeit he's got pushed over quite a few times, I think he's made up for it. For every one play where he gets steamrolled, I think he's made up for it with 2 great plays on pass blocking and run blocking. So I just haven't really seen it. But to get back to your question, and this was Kurt Mackay, do you think Brett Jones, if the Vikings decide, because it's not up to me on the depth chart on who's going to start, if Gary Kubiak decides that we would rather have someone else replace Pat Elflein, I think it's going to be Brett Jones. Drew Samia, I think he has a while to go. I think as of the last couple of games in the preseason, he's gotten better and better. I think he's going to be a project. I think he's going to be a project like Andre Dillard with the Philadelphia Eagles, their future left tackle. Drew Samia, he's going to be the same way. But when he gets to that point, because I think he can, when he gets to that point to where he can start, this dude is a nasty mauler, man. He is going to be a beast. He's going to be that bully that we need on the offensive line. So watch out for Drew Samia in the future. But if they are going to replace someone, I would imagine it's going to be Pat Elflein. It would be with Brett Jones. Let's see. Scott. Oh, wait, hold up. Wait, I don't want to miss it. Scott Luckoff. He said, I missed the first 10 minutes. Has Randy been calm? Yeah, that was you. That was you that said, can you imagine if they cut Kyle Sloter and I go off? I think I've been calm. I think I've been all right. You guys, chime in. I guess if I've been irate or something, let them know. But I think I've been all right. Michael Thompson or Michael Thompson says Cam Newton is better than the Vikings and everything. I don't think he's better than Kirk Cousins as a quarterback. I know he won an MVP. He got to the Super Bowl, but that was led by a good defense. That was led by a good running game. And Cam Newton as a running quarterback, it's pretty legit. He's pretty damn good. He's a big-ass dude, a big-ass quarterback. I get that, but he's not an accurate passer. Like, he's just not. So I get that Kirk Cousins doesn't have the MVP trophies and all that fun stuff, but with Cam Newton's body breaking down, he needs to get better in passing. I don't think he's better than Kirk Cousins as a quarterback. I just don't. I really don't. Violet Valkyrie says, now that Vedvik is gone, do you think Bailey and Wow will continue to perform well? I think Matt Wow was fine, honestly. I thought he was fine last year. I think he'll do just fine. I thought they had the punt return on Buffalo against Buffalo for a touchdown by Corey Vedvik. But outside of that, I think he's got a good leg. I thought he could have been good for us as a punter, but Matt Wow has been fine. I guess is one to bringing in Corey Vedvik or challenging Matt Wow was maybe to light a fire under him for whatever reasons, but I think he's been fine. I think he'll do fine again, Valerie. Valerie, goodness, Violet. But Dan Bailey, I'm good with him too. Quite honestly, guys, I don't care who the kicker is anymore. I don't. Just like how I said, I don't have the energy to be mad at certain things when it comes to the Vikings. Now, let's say if someone is running to the end zone on a must-win game to make it to the playoffs, and they pull a vintage Deshaun Jackson where they get all high and mighty, they celebrate, and they drop the ball right before crossing the plane, then I'll be pissed. I'll go off. Yeah, okay, something like that, sure. I don't have the energy to be mad anymore. So even when it comes to kickers, now granted, specifically with Dan Bailey, I'm fine with him. I'm fine with him. He's going to make some, he's going to miss some, but I, honest to God, sit there now. And someone mentioned this on a comment in one of my videos too, where he said, and I feel the same way. I'm sorry I don't have your name in front of me, but credit where credit is due. I will sit back and watch these games. And when the kicker lines up to kick, I just say to myself, yeah, they're probably going to miss it. And then when they do make it, I say, oh, wow, good for them. I don't have the energy to be ticked off with these kickers anymore. I just don't. This stuff is going to just shorten my lifespan. It's going to give me high blood pressure if I do. But honestly, I've just seen it so many times. And that's another thing, too. People say with the Kyle Sloter situation that, hey, these guys, they know more than us. Stop being an armchair GM. Stop being an armchair coach. Well, this is the same organization that has still fumbled around looking like a circus act trying to figure out the kicker situation, right? So, I don't know, just saying, oh, they know what they're doing. Clearly they don't when it comes to kickers. Granted, Dan Bailey I'm okay with, but still they weren't okay with them because they took a chance and sacrificed a 5th-round draft pick for Corey Vedvik, who's not even on the team anymore. So, no. But to answer your question, Violet, I think Dan Bailey and Matt Wow will do fine. Let's see. Chris Diaz. Oh, I'm glad you brought this up, Chris. Chris Diaz says, we need to get Trent Williams from Washington. Here's what's crazy. Hold up. Let me get my thoughts on this one. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. I grew up there. And people ask me how I became a Minnesota Vikings fan. I became a Minnesota Vikings fan, number one, because of Randy Moss. And number two, I wasn't able to identify with the Washington Redskins. I really wasn't. I never identified with them at all. I was born in DC. I grew up in Prince George's County, Maryland. So there's this tri-state area, if you will, Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Northern Virginia. So that whole area, Washington Redskins fans through and through. They can go 0-16. They can go 1-15. Those fans, they are loyal. I never identified with that team because they suck. Not only do they suck, they are probably the most dysfunctional organization in all of sports. So because of that, I was out there saying, okay, I'll be a fan of the Vikings because I love the way that Randy Moss plays. Getting back to your point, Chris Diaz, they need to trade Trent Williams. Yes, they do, for a couple of reasons. Number one, he's one of the best left tackles in the league, and he's getting up there in age. So you'll have an army of bidders that are out there, and you can have a bidding war, and you can probably get a nice haul in return. Number two, he doesn't want to play for you jackasses. Bruce Allen and Washington Redskins, he doesn't want to play for you. This has nothing to do with contractual situations, or maybe he does in a little part, but the bigger factor is he doesn't trust your medical staff. He doesn't trust them at all. And I see them saying, we're not trading him. And I don't know if this is a way to try to get leverage with trading partners, as far as we're going to say this in public, but really we're just trying to have people raise up the ante. He doesn't want to play with you. So if you're really willing to sit back and let one of the best left tackles in the league, who you can get a nice return from, there are plenty of teams that need a left tackle. It was the Houston Texans before they traded for Laramie Tunsil out of Miami. But there are still teams, including the Minnesota Vikings, that are looking to solidify that left tackle spot. If you're willing to sit there and risk this guy not playing, I don't think Trent Williams is playing for them at all. If you're willing to risk that and not get anything at all, then you look like idiots. This team, and it wouldn't surprise me if they did it, because this team is full from the front office on. This has nothing to do with the players. From the front office up to the ownership, Dan Snyder. I've seen this team. I'm 31 years old. I've watched this team my entire life. They are filled with the biggest bunch of jackasses that I've ever seen. And they really think in their heart of hearts, Trent Williams, you know what, he'll come back. And for what? You have Dwayne Haskins, a rookie quarterback who you're not going to start until Case Keenum gets killed out there. But there's no point in keeping him. Get a nice haul in return for him, and you're fine. But they just got way too much pride. So they should get him. They should trade him. Minnesota, I don't know if Rick Spielman has made a call to them, but the Redskins, they're dumb. They're idiots. They are so stupid. I get it, Chris. They should do it. They're probably not going to do it. Let's see. And then one more thing. You have no leverage. You have no leverage. You can get a nice haul, but you're not going to get what you think you can get, because he doesn't want to play for you. So if he doesn't want to play for you, and we all know it, then at some point you've got to say this is the best that we can get. So anyway, I'm off it. I'm off it. Off it. Bum, 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 bum. Julian Oberbeck says Kyle Sloter just signed with the Cardinals. Really? Let me look that up. I don't believe you, Julian. Or Julianne, my apologies. I don't believe you. Let's see. Did he really? Because I know they said he was getting a workout, according to Tom Pelissero. He was going to get a workout with the Lions tomorrow. Now, if he signed with the Cardinals, let's see. Oh, wait a minute. You might be right. Oh, snap, Julianne, with the breaking news coming out here with the, big ups to you. I owe you an apology. Julianne, my apologies. I hope I'm saying your name right. Julianne with the breaking news on this YouTube live. Kyle Sloter literally tweeted out, excited for my new opportunity with the Arizona Cardinals. All right. Okay. Big ups to you. Thanks for that news right there. So to hell with the Lions. I'm not working out for y'all. I just got signed by the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I guess my quick takeaway from that is clearly they just invested in Kyler Murray. So if anything, he would be the backup. But hopefully and the way that Kyler Murray operates their offense out there, clearly Slaughter would fit the bill. He's kind of similar in the sense of that electric, get outside the pocket type of quick throws type of quarterback. So if he does get the opportunity, bravo to him. Good stuff. Good stuff right there. Look at that. There's some breaking news right there. Let's see. Who else do we have? Let's see. We'll do a couple more here. Actually, let's get straight to the bottom. Let's see what you got. Let's see. Doom doom doom. Nate Green says, with only keeping 4 wide receivers, do you think it's possible we reach out to Demaryius Thomas or another receiver? So I did talk about that early on. I don't know if he got claimed yet, though. I would imagine that he got claimed, but I know he's getting up there in age, but I don't know. I would hope that they would want to reach out to an Aldrick Robinson or maybe a Demaryius Thomas, but it seems like they seem pretty happy with Chad Beebe being the 4th wide receiver, which I'm not cool with. I'm not, because he didn't do anything. And he had a drop on 3rd down. Come on, man. It's all about performance. This whole thing. Don't tell me, and this isn't towards you at all, Nate. I'm just saying, for everyone that says, oh, preseason, it doesn't matter. Don't tell me it doesn't matter, because a lot of players out there, they put their stamp out there in preseason where they say, oh, they look great. And then when it comes to other players, not so much. Chad Beebe has done nothing. He has done nothing this preseason. And I would imagine they would try to sign someone for a 5th receiver spot, but I don't know. Maybe they seem content with Chad Beebe as their 4th wide receiver. So I don't know. Let's see. Kurt Mackay says, how long will Treadwell be a free agent? Probably forever. Probably forever. I mean, he might get a chance to work out for a 5th or 6th receiver role or maybe a practice squad role. But unfortunately, he has been, to me, the biggest bust. And as long as I've been following this team for almost 20 years now, to me, he's the biggest bust in franchise history for the 20 years that I've been following this team. So how long will he be a free agent for? Probably forever. FR Maria 09 says, dude, I sent you messages through Facebook. I don't see you answer. I'm not trying to be an ass. I get a lot of messages, so I don't really look at them all that much. I promise I will look at them after this and I will respond to you. Let's see. Momo says, I'm actually so worried about our defensive backs. I just can't wait for Mike Hughes to come back. Oh my God. Tell me about it. I talked about this on Score North, and I think this was on Wednesday, either Wednesday or Tuesday. I can't remember. And I talked about how our defensive backs, particularly our cornerbacks, they really, really scare me. And suddenly, some of those games that I thought were a shoe-in, they're looking a little bit suspect. Mainly the Detroit Lions. The 2 times that we have to play them, assuming our cornerbacks are healthy and they're good to go, that was a shoo-in. We were going to win those 2 games. But when you look at Matthew Stafford and all the weapons that he has on offense to throw the ball to, even Kerryon Johnson, he's a nice pass-catching running back. If our cornerbacks suck ass, if they don't do anything, if they're still weak, Xavier Rhodes, Mike Zimmer, if Xavier Rhodes completely just looks like he has been doing this preseason and all of 2018, this is on you too. This is on you too. He better perform. He better perform. But if the cornerbacks don't perform, we could be in some serious, serious trouble. I got them going 11-5. I'm not going to change that. But if they don't perform, we might miss the playoffs. They need to be average. And they don't even look average right now. They look like one of the worst cornerback groups in the entire NFL. So I agree with you, Momo. They need to step up. Nashville North says, I miss your anger. Well, all right. Here's what One last thing I'll say about that. Um, People think that I know a lot of people think out there that I get up there and I just do it in front of the cameras where I'm just yelling and all this stuff for views and subscribers and followers and all that stuff. No, I whenever I yell, it's like in the heat of the moment, like that's truly how I feel and I'm fed up about such and such situation and that's just how I feel. None of this is an act for the cameras. Like everything that I do, YouTube Live, my podcast, everything that I do, this is literally who I am. Okay, this is just who I am. So I'm not gonna get up here and just be like, oh, I'm mad and blah blah blah. Because if I expected something, or if I'm just worn out, I'm tired. I'm tired, Nashville North. I'm worn out. I just don't have the energy for certain stuff anymore. But no, this isn't an act. So when I'm really ticked off, it's because that's really what's happening right now. So if they if they miss the playoffs, I don't even think I'll be mad. We'll see. We'll see what happens in the heat of the moment. But like with Kyle Sloter, obviously I was a big fan of his. I was frustrated, but I had time to process it. I had time to understand that this isn't a surprise, and this is who they are. They love to just Jarius Wright, other players like that, to where they love to just ignore other players and give these bum ass dudes opportunities that they don't deserve. This isn't a surprise. This is just who they are. So, um, we'll see. If something stupid happens, then I'll get mad. But nah, man, this is just who I am. Let's see. We'll do like two more. Legends, blah 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 blah. Wonderful. So remote. I'm sorry. I really take pride in trying to pronounce people's names right. So I'm sorry if I'm not saying. I'm probably going to butcher your name. Ramad Mazel says Demetrius Underwood is the biggest Vikings draft bust in recent history. So I think I saw Judd Zolgad of Score North post this out once Laquan Treadwell. It was announced that he was going to be released, and he said, "Who is the biggest draft bust in Vikings history?" And an Adam Patrick of the Viking Age, he quote tweeted it and said Demetrius Underwood. Let me backtrack a little bit. Judd Zolgad said since 2000. So since 2000, the last 18, 19 years, who is the biggest Vikings draft bust during that time? And then Adam Patrick quote tweeted that and said, I'm going to go back one more year and include Demetrius Underwood. So I started following this team in 2000, and I was in junior high school. I don't know if Demetrius Underwood, I've never heard of that name, so I don't know if he was playing while I've been following that team since 2000. Maybe he did. I don't know. I have no idea. If he got drafted in 99, I definitely have no idea about who he is. I'm guessing he was a first round draft pick. I don't even know what position he played. So I don't know. So for those that have been following the team a lot longer, I'm going to trust your judgment on that. For me personally, since I've been following this team, to me, it's Laquan Treadwell. Troy Williamson, I thought before, was the biggest draft bust in the Vikings history, but Troy Williamson, he racked up yards. He couldn't catch the ball, but when he did, he racked up yards. He scored touchdowns. Laquan Treadwell has never had a signature game to say, oh, you know what, Laquan Treadwell, he had a pretty good game today. I've never seen that at all from him. At least with Troy Williamson, I think I can recall a couple of times saying, you know what, Troy Williamson, he didn't screw up today. So I'll trust your judgment on that. Let's see. Doom, doom, doom. Let's see. We'll do. I keep saying we'll do two more, but then I keep wanting to add a little bit more. Let's do a couple more because this is a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun doing this with you guys. Kurt McKay, I'm glad you brought this up. This is really interesting. Kurt McKay says Zimmer should not be allowed to talk about specific players to the media, ruin chances of trading Sloter. You're right. Clearly, you didn't want him on the team, so you can't then say, if we don't find a trade partner, we're going to release him. You technically you can say that, but don't tell me you're having difficulties trying to trade him and suddenly you can't. You guys have bet, as in Zimmer and anybody else, and all the media members that regurgitated what Mike Zimmer said, he has really destroyed any sort of trade value that Kyle Sloter had. He really, really did. If you just let him perform and you just shut up. Now, Mike Zimmer, he loves to be super 100, and I do appreciate that. He's very candid when he gets up on the podium, but sometimes he should probably dial it back. Probably could have got, something nice for him. You got nothing at all. So I agree. I agree with you completely, Kurt. Zimmer, I think, single-handedly ruined any sort of trade prospects for Kyle Sloter. Let's see. Violet says, a lot of the choices they have made for this roster make me worry that the team is slowly becoming mediocre. I'm not going to say all that. Obviously, Sloter, that's one. But I think the biggest name that's probably disappointing that you would imagine would be somewhat of an impactful player this season was Brandon Zylstra. I'm really shocked that they really let him go. Every time I think about it, I just can't put together, wow, you guys really let him go? So I'm not going to say that they're set on being mediocre. I'm not going to go to that degree, but it's just this old school way of thinking, guys behind the scenes, whether they carry other teammates' shoulder pads or helmets better than the other guy versus what they do on the field. I don't know what it is, but Chad Beebe and Sean Mannion being on the roster is, even Amir Abdullah, is mind-blowing to me. It really, really is. But I see what you're saying, Violet. I see what you're saying. I'm not going that far, but I get it. Tyler Schmidt says, you think BC Johnson will get any valuable playing time this year? I like the kid. Yes, I do. I think he will. I think he is the clear-cut wide receiver 3, unless they decide that because of Chad Beebe's experience last year. Oh, Chad Beebe, he's going to be the wide receiver 3. I think BC Johnson, if we're just talking about recent play, this is a what have you done for me lately league. I think BC Johnson will be the wide receiver 3, and I think what's going to happen is they're going to intertwine the 12 formations with 2 tight ends and the traditional 3 wide receiver set formations to where BC Johnson will be out there unless they trot out Chad Beebe out in the field. And for all we know, maybe Chad Beebe will get out there and he'll get back to his 2018 form. Maybe he will, but based on recency, not even recency bias, that's just how the NFL works. Bro, you can break, let's say you're running back, you break 2,000 yards 2 years ago, and then the year after that, so last year, let's say they get a solid 1,200 yards. Oh, I don't know about this guy anymore. Same thing applies. BC Johnson has been more recently better than Chad Beebe. But yes, I think he will get some run, and I think he will make an impact on this team. I like BC Johnson a lot. Oh, the big homie E-Love. Do you think defensive coaches are dated in today's NFL? That's a great question. Depends on what you mean. Are you talking about head coaches? Because if you're talking about head coaches, absolutely. Outside of Bill Belichick, the greatest coach of all time, granted, it's a system league. You have Tom Brady as well. Outside of that, yes. This is an ever-evolving league. Offense. And if you don't, granted, defensive coordinators are very, very important. Okay? Super important. I'm not discrediting them. But when it comes to head coaches, you need to have an offensive-minded head coach. Now, the reason why it may not impact the chances of the Vikings winning a Super Bowl, because I think they can do it. The reason why it's different now is because we have Gary Kubiak, who voluntarily is like, bro, I have had a lot of health issues. I don't want to be a head coach. I'm going to be behind the scenes. So this is a lot different of a situation compared to all the other 31 other teams in the league. But on a blank slate, yes, I think they are dated in today's NFL if we're talking about head coaches. Look at all the times that the Minnesota Vikings have been top 10, top 5 in defense, but their offense has been shaky and they either didn't make the playoffs or, their defense got exposed and their offense couldn't keep up with it because they've been so used to the defense carrying the torch. It doesn't matter, bro. Eventually, offenses will catch on. The Rams, they sent the blueprint out last year. The Chiefs, you got to expect them to do it this year. It doesn't. Defense is great. Defense will win championships. Now, certainly, that Super Bowl that we just watched, Rams, Patriots, all defense. We get it. But Rams, Saints, NFC Championship game, that was offense. Chiefs, Patriots, AFC Championship game, that was offense. It gets you up to the championship game and defense will win. Now, granted, the year before, Eagles, Patriots, there was no defense on the field whatsoever. So it intertwines, it goes back and forth. But overall, you can have a crappy defense and a great offense and still make it to the championship game. But if you have a great defense and a crappy offense, you're not going to do much. You're not going to do much at all. That's why this could be Mike Zimmer's saving grace with Gary Kubiak. With Gary Kubiak on behind the scenes, this could be a saving grace. If they don't do anything, his time is up, straight up. So I think, yes, the big homie E-Love, defensive coaches, as far as head coaches, they are dated. And if you have an offensive head coach, granted, even if you have defensive coordinators, they just keep rotating. Oh, I'm getting a job somewhere else. You can find somebody. If you have the right personnel, you can still find somebody to say, okay, the Chicago Bears, for instance, they got Chuck Pagano. They used to have, I think his name was Vic Fangio. He left, and now they've got, if I'm not mistaken, Chuck Pagano. All you have to say if you're Pagano is say with the Chicago Bears. All you have to say if you're Chuck Pagano is say, let me look at the film that you guys did last year, and let me look at the playbook, and let's just emulate that exact same thing. I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to switch anything. If you have constant offensive coordinators switching left and right like the Vikings have done, because Kevin Stefanski, he wouldn't be here if the Browns hired him as their head coach. If you had constant offensive coordinators going left and right, and we're going on our fourth offensive coordinator under Mike Zimmer going into, I think, his sixth season in the NFL as Minnesota Vikings head coach, if I'm not mistaken. So 4 offensive coordinators. It's an up and down effect to where there's so much change and every offensive coordinator has their philosophy. And if they kick ass, they'll say, I'm going to be a head coach somewhere else. Defensive head coaches are great, or defensive coaches are great for defensive coordinator positions. The whole head coach thing outside of Bill Belichick is dead. I honest to God think it's dead. Let's do one more. Man, I love you guys are just rolling in with all these comments and takes. I love it. Maybe 2 more. Oh, yeah, we'll do one more. Let's find one more one to end this on. Let's see. A couple of you guys are arguing with each other, so I'll let you guys do that. Don't Care Bear says, we just need a quarterback that's accurate and mobile, sort of like the opposite of Cousins. Well, okay. I get what you're saying. I get what it is that you're saying, Don't Care Bear, but here's what I will say to that. There are quite a few quarterbacks out there that aren't the most mobile in the bunch. I'm thinking of Tom Brady, obviously the GOAT quarterback. I'm thinking of Jared Goff. He's not all that mobile, at least the games that I've watched him in. There's a lot of guys out there that aren't necessarily the guys that are going to get outside the pocket a lot. What you need is awareness first and foremost. And what I will say is when it comes to granted, if we have a guy that can get outside the pocket, that's great. That's fantastic. I love it. You can have a Russell Wilson, or if you can have an Aaron Rodgers, wonderful. But that doesn't mean that if you don't have a mobile quarterback, you can't be successful. The way that our team is set up right now, better offensive line, great receiving weapons, good defense, assuming the cornerbacks step up. Gary Kubiak with his offensive scheme. The way that this team is set up, you just need to not make mistakes and be a little bit self-aware of the pocket around you. Now, granted, Kirk Cousins, he's never demonstrated that ability to sense pressure, but just don't screw up. Hand the ball off to Dalvin Cook. Once in a while, do play action, or actually, you're probably going to be doing that a lot. Dalvin Cook will set up the play action. Once in a while, throw it deep to Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen, and don't screw up. The game is not being put on your back. I'm not going to say that you absolutely need to have a mobile quarterback. It sure does help. I don't think the statue sit in the pocket and throw a quarterback, I don't think that's necessarily dead. Granted, it's more sexy if you're a mobile quarterback. Let's do one more. This is getting really good. Let's see. The Colt 45 show says, is he ducking us? He doesn't read our questions, and I post good questions. Dude, there are a lot of questions coming in. I can't keep up with everybody. Go ahead and post something and let's see what you say. Let's see. Goodness. I'll say this would be Mike Pavero says, I'll say it now, Randy. This will be Zimmer's last year. He's officially the dumbest coach in the NFL. I don't think he's a dumb coach. I think he's a very bright coach. For all that I criticize on Mike Zimmer, I think he's a really good coach. I really do. I think he is a great defensive coordinator. I just don't think he's a good head coach. I really don't, because if you're going to base everything on defense and you're going to get up there and say and just trash Case Keenum every single chance you get. This dude Case Keenum could throw for 500 yards and 10 touchdowns in a game, and Mike Zimmer will still get up on the podium and trash Case Keenum, right? He did that every single game. And you're going to prop up Trevor Siemian because he's better in practice, or you're going to prop up all these quarterbacks. And even before we sign Kirk Cousins and say, well, we don't need this expensive quarterback. I just think in this ever-evolving league, I think, unfortunately, Mike Zimmer has not adapted with the times. I think he's a good defensive coordinator. If he can just focus all his resources on that and not be the face of a team, and he can just focus on the defense and that's it, and you can have an offensive head coach go up and answer all the questions and be the face of the team, I think Mike Zimmer can be great. Granted, in terms of his defensive coaching abilities, when it comes to opposing offenses, when they figure out how to shred his defense, he doesn't really have an answer. But I think if he's a defensive coordinator, he can be great. I just think he's sticking to this old school philosophy of defense carries everything. And I said this on the Skull Weekly podcast yesterday. You can find it on YouTube. Just search Skull Weekly with SK and Rick Sosa. I do a group podcast once in a while. I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again. If we had Patrick Mahomes on this team, my God, I shit you not, Mike Zimmer will find a way to trash Patrick Mahomes and dial him back and say, you can't do this. Patrick Mahomes would not be Patrick Mahomes with us because you're doing too much, you're being flashy and all that. Patrick Mahomes, he would find a way to trash him every single week. Why? Because he's not that traditional quarterback out there. So I just think he has this old school mentality, and it could come back to haunt him, including this old school mentality of Xavier Rhodes, these guys, I'm super loyal to them. Xavier Rhodes counts, I don't have it in front of me, I'm guessing, what, $12, $13, $14 million against the cap this year? Has he played like a $14 million against the cap player so far in the preseason? I get it, it's the preseason. Has he played like it at all? Absolutely not. But because this is my guy, I've worked with him, I love him like a son, That's why he's on this team. Bro, Bill Belichick, compare that to Bill Belichick. We can talk all we want about the schemes that Bill Belichick has. What sets him apart from other coaches out there is I don't give a damn who you are. If you're not playing up to par, if you're not productive, then you are gone. Mike Zimmer, I love him like a son. That's why you're going to stay on the team, even if it's at a $14 million cap hit. So that's the difference with him. I think he can be a good defensive coordinator, just not a good head coach. We'll do one more. We've done an hour so far, but this has been a lot of fun. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. We'll end it with this. And again, I'm not trying to trash Mike Zimmer at all. I think he's a great man. I like his foundation. I think what he does, I honestly God think he's one of the greatest human beings out there that I've seen with this organization. Leslie Frazier is one of them too. Just a great man, just a human being altogether. And I'm not trying to trash him. Everything I do, it's all about your job. How do you do your job as a head coach? And we'll end it with this. The big homie E-Love says, Zimmer always finds a way to scapegoat. I'm sick of his stubborn ass. I will say that is a big issue. For all the times that Mike Zimmer goes out there and says, Kyle Sloter, you haven't done enough to earn the backup job. Anthony Barr coasts a lot, which granted he was right. All these players, they need to step up. And half the time he's right. Sometimes he may be a little bit out of his skis. 2016, the offensive line is soft. Half the time he's right, or even more than that. I'll give him 70%, 75, maybe 80% of the time he's right. But when it comes to him, you need to own up to this. Your defense shit the bed. Your defense sucks, or 38-7, whatever it is. Mike Zimmer, and maybe I haven't been paying attention enough, but it seems like Mike Zimmer will go out of his way to bang down the drums and say, these players, they need to step up. And it's one thing to do that, but you also have to admit your faults too. And I'm not trying to act like I'm this great. I'm just a random ass dude that talks Vikings, okay? I don't think I'm this big bad guy. For as much trash as I talk about players, and as much as I go off and I talk about great players too, as much as I talk Sean Mannion, he's trying blah, blah, bro, if Sean Mannion goes out there, if Kirk Cousins was to go down and Sean Mannion gets out there and he just kicks that, I'll say I look like the biggest fool. I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong as much as I do when I'm right. Mike Zimmer needs to do that on the bigger scale of being a head coach. He does scapegoat, big homie E-Love. He does scapegoat a lot. I have very rarely seen him own up to his shortcomings. For all he talked about Kyle Sloter and game clock management and all that, I thought that was absolutely rich because Mike Zimmer is probably one of the worst head coaches in the league in terms of managing timeouts with the game clock. Dude, if Kyle Sloter, if that's a reason why he shouldn't be a backup quarterback because of his game clock management skills, then excuse me, we need to apply that same energy. What does that say about you as a head coach? I like Mike Zimmer. I like him as a human being. He seems like a great man. But in terms of being a head coach, he needs to improve on a lot. A lot. I know a lot of people love him, but this is the hard truth. He needs to improve a lot. And if the Vikings go out and win the Super Bowl, does that mean I was wrong about him? Absolutely, absolutely not. Because if they do win, it's because their offense steps up. It's because of Gary Kubiak. Whether the defense is great or not, it doesn't matter. 2016, we had one of the best defenses in the league, and you didn't make the playoffs. You didn't make the playoffs. Last year, one of the best defenses in the league, right? Mike Zimmer, this is one of the best defenses. Didn't make the playoffs. It doesn't matter. You need to step up as a head coach. Game clock management, offense, all that stuff. You need to step up. He does scapegoat a lot. I really do believe that. I haven't seen him own up to a lot of his mistakes, and that's what it is. I say it one more, but I'm a piggyback off this one more time because the big homie E Love just said something else. The big homie E Love said the media never calls him out, bro. They never do. They don't. They don't. I don't have anything against the media. I don't. I think I respect a lot of what the media does out there. Um, Now, granted, I think a lot of it too is Minnesota is a different type of market. So when you look at different, and I'm not talking about, I think Minnesota is a great place to go to. Minneapolis, we'll be out there in Philadelphia. In terms of traveling, tourism, and everything like that, I think Minnesota is up there with the great states. Minneapolis is up there with one of the great cities that you can go to. And I'm not sitting here kissing y'all asses because you're from Minnesota. I truly believe that. I've been there 3 times already, and I've enjoyed every single time. But what I've noticed in my interactions in the state of Minnesota and Minneapolis is that it really is a thing when they say Minnesota nice. Minnesota nice is a real thing. And I think when you are critical of the team, there's a large portion of the fan base that I've noticed, and I'm not trashing the fans, whatever. Whatever you believe is whatever you believe. But I've noticed that a large portion of the fan base is everything the Vikings do is great. Everything the Vikings, the coaches and GM staff, they know more than us. My opinion doesn't matter because I love this team. And that's great. And that's fantastic. And if you are critical of the team, like LA, New York, Dallas, Houston, when you have these larger markets that are very critical of the team and they just are telling their opinions and they back it up with facts. Now, those markets, the consumers out there, they're saying, yeah, this is fine. This is great. Like, it's fine. But I've noticed with Minnesota, it's if you go too critical or what they deem to be as too critical, it's like, oh, a lot of pushback. So I don't know if, to get back to your point, the big homie E Love, I don't know if the media, a lot of the media fan base or the media members out there are cognizant, if they're just cognizant of the consumers out. Me, I don't give a damn. I don't care. I don't care. My opinion is my opinion. I don't care. If you don't like me, and I'm not saying this to anybody in particular because you guys have been great, but my God, I know there's a bunch of hate followers out there. If you don't like me, then don't follow me. But I don't give a damn. But with that said, I don't know if the media members, if a lot of them are just, they're cognizant of the consumers and say, you know what, if there's a lot of pushback, it's not going to look good. So we'll just kind of fluff out some softball questions. I have no idea. To each his own. So to some degree, I will say they won't call him out when it comes to certain stuff. But I think a lot of it too is just because, well, you know, this Minnesota nice. It's a real thing. I think that's it. I lied. We'll do one more. This is probably the longest I've done a YouTube live. We'll do one more. We'll do one more. Scott Luckoff said, no, we'll do one more after this one. Scott Luckoff says, realistic Randy, keep doing more of these. These are fun. I'm having a lot of fun, man. I'm doing a lot of fun with this stuff. And one thing I'll add to this is myself, SK, Rick Sosa, we'll all be out there for the Eagles game. We're trying to figure out where we're going to do like a meet and greet. So we want to hang out with you guys. We want you guys to come out and really just shoot the shit with you guys. Really just talk with you guys. Talk football, talk Vikings. Like, just kind of meet you guys and say what's up and all that fun stuff. We'll figure out where that's going to be at, and we will for sure let you know. So whether that's at a particular bar, or if that's at a tailgate, or if that's wherever, we will be sure to let you know. But these live streams, I'm having a lot of fun. I'll be sure to do more of these. So, all right, let's do one more. For sure. Let's see. We'll for sure do one more. Okay, here we go. Jens Larson, you're up, homie. Jens Larson says, Jens Larson says, also fans constantly talking about the miracle catch. Who freaking cares? 38-7 killed it. I am 100% with you. Jens, I am 100% with you. Now, if you love the Minneapolis Miracle, that's fine. To each his own. That's fine. I'm not going to denigrate you and say, "Oh, get over it." I'm just going to talk from myself, my perspective, and apparently Jen Larson's perspective as well. I don't give a damn about the Minneapolis Miracle. I don't care about it. And I remember exactly where I was. I was at a friend's house, and I remember I say, "Oh, this is over." Of course, we screwed over a 17-0 lead, and the Saints, they're going to win. And then that play happened. I blacked out, and this is the greatest thing to ever happen. The build up and all that stuff, and then 38-7 happened. Every time when I see the Minneapolis Miracle, I immediately think to, "Oh, what happened that following week?" 38-7. And that was one of the most disgraceful performances that I ever saw. I don't know. I would say honestly that hurt a lot more than the wide left miss by Blair Walsh. That hurt a lot more than the Hail Mary that the Arizona Cardinals had. And was that Josh McCown or Luke McCown? I think it was a McCown brother on Arizona that threw that pass. Someone let me know if that whoever that was. But that Arizona game where we would have made the playoffs if we beat them. This was like 2003 or something. Anyway, 38-7 hurt the most out of all of those because the build up and to go out and look like that, to look like you didn't care at all about the game, to have no fight in you, it really just destroyed all of the good feels that I had about the Minneapolis Miracle. It really, really did to me. And so, honestly, whenever I see it now, I just immediately scroll past it. I don't want to see it, whatever, because that was the most disgraceful performance I ever saw. And I remember Mackenzie Alexander, he tweeted out like right after, "Oh, the best is yet to come, guys." Skull. And I was just saying, like, don't talk about this now. You had your chance to have some fight in you on that field. And that's the thing that is the common thread and the common denominator when it comes to this team. I need you to have some fight. Wins and losses, they come and go. You're not going to win all the time. But for the amount of success that this franchise has had, for the amount of wins and playoff appearances, and when you compare that like larger picture over the course of the history of the National Football League, you look at these other teams, and though let's say we're up there in the top 7 with total wins and all this other stuff, those other 6 teams, they have championships, or those other 6 teams, they have done a lot more, whereas the Minnesota Vikings are that lone team that they have all these wins and all this, and it's all great, and they just completely just make asses out of themselves. They just fall flat on their face, and it is just so frustrating. It is time that this team steps up, and that's why, to go back to a couple of you guys' questions, why don't you yell at us? Because I'm tired. I don't have the energy to yell at him. I'm tired. I've seen this story time and time again. Now I'm sitting back. Step up and play. Play your asses off. And then whatever happens after that happens. But these losses that they've had, whether it's to get into the playoffs or whether it's in the playoffs to advance, these losses that they have had have been despicable. It has been terrible. Wide left. Arizona Cardinals game, Hail Mary. Week 17 last year to get to the playoffs. The Colts game in 2016. The way that the Vikings played against the Colts in 2016, you would have thought that they got eliminated from playoff contention the week before, but they still had a chance, and they had no fight in them whatsoever. 38-7. It goes on and on and on. The amount of times that I've watched this team just completely get in their own way. 12 men in the huddle, the 09 NFC Championship game. It is I'm so exhausted from it that this is just who they are. This is just who they are. And until they show me otherwise, it serves no purpose for me to get mad because I expect it. Now, if something happens to where that 2016 game, I think it was the Lions game where Cordero Patterson, he had the legal formation play. I was so shocked and I got ticked off. That was it. But outside of that, if nothing else happens, if they completely just fall apart, I'm not going to get upset no more. So they need to show up. Show up. Put up or shut up. Otherwise, I don't want to hear anything. Mike Zimmer, Rick Spielman, you don't make the playoffs, you will be fired. So that'll be it, guys. You guys are great. I appreciate you guys following. I just wanted to kind of talk about this with the Kyle Sloter thing one more time, and then the 53-man roster, because I'm not going to talk about it again. Next week for Score North, I'll talk about kind of the successes, the formula for success for this team, what they need to do. And then later on in the week, I'll talk about the Arizona Cardinals game that's coming up on Sunday. So I'll preview that game and talk about how I think the Vikings will win that game, but I'll kind of preview that. So this has been a lot of fun, guys. I really do appreciate it. Let me know your guys' thoughts, comments, concerns. Whoever it was that mentioned, I don't respond to Facebook messages. I promise I'll go on after this. I'm not trying to be this big shot. I just get a lot of them, and I don't really get to them a lot. So I'll check them out and see what happens. So let me know your thoughts, comments, concerns, feedback. I appreciate it all the time. A major thank you to you guys that have been supporting this podcast going on 3 or 4 years now. You guys enjoy your Labor Day weekend. Peace. I'll see you later.